The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Hello and welcome to the 205 Live Review here on the W2M Network. I'm Brandon Biskobing, filling in for Harry Broadhurst tonight. And joining me is the normal co-host, Liz Pugliese. How's it going, Liz?
Pretty good.
And let's get right into it. This show, after what happened this past weekend, talking about the replacement Fatal 4-Way that was won by Cedric Alexander last night. So, and he will face Drew Gulak in a number one contenders match next week. And Drew Gulak talking about, his matchup against Cedric. And he was out there in the ring to start off with Ariya Davari. And Drew Gulak was calling Cedric Alexander a Grinch for stealing Davari's opportunity to be in the number one contenders match. A nice little Christmas reference there. And also saying that Noam Dar is injured and that he's going to honor his fallen teammate. And Gulak was supposed to have another PowerPoint presentation. Gulak is the only guy that can make something as bland as a PowerPoint presentation seem exciting.
I know.
I said to Tori tonight after we were watching it, I was like, WWE should totally get a sponsorship deal with Microsoft and have him do a Microsoft Office commercial.
That would be fabulous.
Fabulous. Yes, it would be. And of course, it's interrupted by Cedric's music. Since it first started, I don't think we've gotten an actual PowerPoint presentation in like months now.
I know. I was thinking during it that it would be nice if they had something like up on the website where it's actually like him getting through some of the slides, showing some of them.
That would actually be a great way to get the cruiserweights over on the website. Like, have Gulak actually get through all of his original slides. Like, I just want to see all of the original slides.
Yeah, and have it like broken up so it's like you have to watch the whole thing and it's like an hour.
Yeah, exactly. So we get Cedric Alexander against Ariya Davari, which Alexander wins with a lumbar check. A pretty solid match. Nothing crazy. It was one interesting spot was Davari going up to the top rope, which is rule number one on Drew Gulak's rules for a better 205 Live, no high flying. And Drew Gulak is going up and saying, "No, what are you doing? Get down, get down!" And he jumps anyway, but injures his ribs as a result, and that opens the door for Cedric to hit the lumbar check for the win. And then we get a stare down between Cedric and Gulak. After that, we get a segment with them in the back, along with Tony Nese and Enzo Amore. Enzo isn't happy that Drew called a meeting between the other three because Enzo's supposed to be leader of the Zo Train and all of this. And more more dissension within the Zo train. Enzo makes a match himself between him and Tony Nese, with Drew Gulak and Ariya Davari at ringside. And then I think that was later on that we got a thing with Nia. But so an interesting concept going on right now with this dissension between Enzo and the rest of the Zo train. It'll be interesting to see where this goes, and we saw a lot of where it could have gone later on in the night.
Yeah, it's happening a little quicker than I actually expected it to, but on this other side of the coin, I guess it makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I was not expecting this much dissension because the Zo train has only been around for like 2 months or something.
Yeah, about that.
So then we get Brian Kendrick in the ring talking about how Kalisto got all these opportunities right away when he first came into 205 Live, and how he was a Cruiserweight champ a year ago, but still hasn't gotten anything else since. And Jack Gallagher gets on the mic saying, Kalisto, stay away, or else, we're going to beat you up and all of that. But Kalisto gets the win with a roll-up, albeit, against Gallagher. And then Kendrick comes in right after the roll-up and starts beating down Kalisto. And then we get a Grand Metalik appearance to save Kalisto and run off Kendrick and Gallagher. And this is something we were kind of talking about off the air. There's a couple of different opportunities for a potential tag title if they wanted to go that route, with a couple of different groups aligning themselves together now on the Cruiserweight division.
Yeah, it seemed like they were good. They was, I don't want to say starting, but they were maybe playing around with it, for, a little bit, with some different matchups. But I don't know. They really have enough people to pull off, a tag division and a singles division without it having a ton of overlap.
Yeah, that's the bigger problem now, is that while as compared to, they should have had a lot more, and they should have a lot more from the Cruiserweight Classic, but, they seem to only use the same couple of people in the Cruiserweight division, so you don't really have that depth within the division to do anything.
Yeah, the biggest problem with the show week to week, and Harry and I have said this, is that it's almost the same show.
Yeah, exactly.
Every week.
Well, the same people. There's a person that I remember from the Cruiserweight Classic that we saw, back when the show first started, but now he's disappeared, is Lince Dorado.
Mm-hmm.
And, there are a bunch of guys. There are a couple of guys that I would have liked to have seen them bring in that didn't even get signed, but, that's neither here nor there, but,
I cannot say his name. Is Gnome's injury legit, or is it just something?
I'm not sure. I haven't actually seen anything.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything either.
Yeah, because
if it is, and that's two guys they have to replace, Swan and Gnome.
And apparently, I read, which just shows how little gets reported on the 205 Live guys. I was looking on Wikipedia at the whole roster, or the list of WWE personnel, and apparently TJP's been injured. So that's why we haven't been seeing him.
I was just going to say he's another one that you haven't really seen, and I was kind of hoping he was being repackaged.
Yeah, so that's the reason why we haven't seen him in a while. But, you know, you got Lindsay Dorado seemingly sitting on the sidelines doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got more than what they used. But, you know, that's one of the things that have been a problem with 205 Live is that they haven't used everyone that they originally had, and now instead they're just adding more people from outside of what it was originally supposed to be.
Right. Yeah, it's the same thing, you know, every week with a little bit of, you know, shuffling. And then it's just so everybody's, you know, you're not only getting the same matches almost every week, everybody's saying the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, every week. Nothing is progressing.
I mean, that's a problem with all of WWE, though, now, is that you're basically getting the same feuds, the same matches week in and week out. But it's even worse on 205 because the roster is so thin.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's most similar to the women's division because there are, you know, X amount of women that we keep, you know, they're friends today, enemies tomorrow, and then next week, you know, they're friends again. So it's just one cycle we're going through.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what they can really do to fix it, but, you know, that's something that they're going to have to look into. One person that we'll talk about in a second will probably help with that, but the next segment was Gulak trying to talk to Enzo about him fighting Tony Nese, and one of probably the funniest moments that we've gotten from Enzo in a while. He says that he's like Dean Malenko and will put on a technical display for the guys. Oh, God.
Yeah, that gained a few chuckles, I think.
Oh, I'm sure. Every smark in the audience was just either face-palmed or were laughing their heads off.
I haven't been on Twitter. I have to go on there and see what their reaction to.
But so that was the entertainment for the night. And then we got a promo that says apparently Hideo Itami is coming next week. So that's something to look forward to for the Cruiserweight division. Not sure how much he can really help them. But, you know, add some fresh meat, you know. Meat. And it'll be nice to see Hideo on a more regular basis, as long as he gets used well. Oh, another person that we haven't really seen who seems to have fallen off of the face of the earth, we were talking about this before, Akira Tozawa.
Yeah, he was he got more airtime when he was part of Titus Worldwide.
Well, and even then, he's like, you know, when you see Titus Worldwide segments like this past week on Raw, like last night on Raw, he was nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, I wondered about that.
But so that's another person that, you know, it seems like they only use a few people every week. So then we got an Enzo promo before the match. And saying that the Zotrain is an unbreakable unit, which no, it's not right now. That's for sure. And he says he taunts Nese about not wanting to have a technical match and continuing this whole thing about how he's a great technician. And he keeps on, you know, berating Tony until it looked like Tony was about to finally go after him and attack him. And then, of course, we get an Ariya Davari jump in to start beating down Enzo. The match technically did start, so the bell did ring. So officially it goes down as a Tony Nese win by DQ. but Gulak or Enzo and Davari continue beating Nese down. Gulak looks appalled at ringside. Enzo keeps on yelling at him once he gets into the ring and basically forces him to kick Nese. We hear a "This is boring" chant, which that segment went on. It seemed like that segment went on forever.
Yeah, I enjoyed the segment, but it did run. It's really long.
Yeah.
I think they could have cut it, a little bit.
I mean, I get the reasoning. I get the reasoning behind, because they were having Gulak sit there and think this out and be conflicted and everything, which is showing that he's not sure what he wants to do, which leads into what we were talking about before about a potential face turn for Gulak. But yeah, I mean, something like that. I mean, it doesn't help that, unfortunately, it seems like the fans unfortunately, it seems like the fans, I don't know if this is because of the Cruiserweights or because of his shtick getting old or what, but they seem to be turning on Enzo a bit.
Yeah, I think he's another one that's fallen victim to. I mean, he has all his 3,000, catchphrases.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's time for him to evolve. A little bit. I mean, obviously, he's not the greatest, wrestler ever, but he really is. I mean, it's basically him, Gulak, and maybe one other in 205 that can actually, cut a promo, or sound halfway decent. I think that's.
I mean, Brian Kendrick seems like.
Oh yeah, Brian's been around since the dawn of the day, So Brian
and Gallagher can do it at times.
Yeah, but they don't. Yeah, but they don't really let them.
Well, yeah, that is the bigger problem, and I think the problem with 205 right now for me is that you have two completely opposite fan bases when it comes to the show, or two completely opposite groups. You've got the more WWE centric fans, which want the talking segments, want it to be like WWE, want it to be, more of that style. Mm-hmm. But then you have, the purists who were watching the Cruiserweight Classic and everything and want it to be a more technically based show, want it to be more of a, New Japan type thing. And it's kind of hard to balance those two out. And it seems like they're failing miserably on both ends right now.
Yeah, no, they really are, because it does quite often come off, pretty, disjointed. Harry and I have said a few times that out of the three, shows, I mean, I guess there's NXT, but out of the three bigger shows, whatever you want to call them, you tend to get the best wrestling for the most part on a weekly basis on 205.
Mm-hmm.
There's more bang for your buck, so to speak, in terms of wrestling, within the matches, so that it has that going for it. But
yeah, you don't get handsprings on Raw or SmackDown.
Yeah, exactly. You get some amazing, matches on night. I mean, even their short matches are, pretty good, very entertaining. But it's getting the storytelling, from one to the other, from week to week, is where I don't think they've balanced it very well. I don't think they found their.
Well, I think it's also. I mean, I think it's also the fact that, I mean, originally I would have kept it at Full Sail and kept it right after NXT. As
Harry,
basically a second hour of NXT.
We've said that like almost every week. I think Gary said it too when he's been on for Harry. that it should be paired with, NXT. I think the thing with 205 is it's stretched across 3 shows. You have them show up on Raw. They're not featured on SmackDown, but then it's live after SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
So they're stretched across, 2 days. They have a lot going on. And it's SmackDown starts at 8? So people are usually in their seats by 7, and then, a lot of them leave, so they don't get tired.
To be fair, the argument against that is that, Raw is the same amount of time. So, if you can stay for 3 hours of Raw, then why couldn't you stay for the same amount of time for 2 shows?
Because they separate. For me, it's because, they separate it. I'm imagining that it's because it's not fluid. It's not just continuing. There has to be some sort of, it comes on pretty quickly, and we know how fast the ring crew works, but there is that changeover.
That is true. And the people who don't really care about the cruiserweights.
Yeah, so some people are going to be like, And yeah, exactly. So some people are going to be like, okay, I don't really.
So I feel like, I don't know. I haven't been to a live event at all, so I don't really know exactly how it works. But based on what I've heard, don't they do dark matches before and after the shows, or they tape main event before or whatnot. So some of the more casual fans who do not know about 205 and the network.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you would be a fan of WWE and going to events and everything and not know about that stuff, but playing devil's advocate and saying they wouldn't, those fans may be like, oh, do I really feel like sticking around for, a tape thing or,
Right.
a dark match afterwards?
Right. And when you go into Raw, it's 3 hours. There's people who don't really watch 205, or they'd be like, it's not on the net, it's not on, USA, whatever, it's just on the network, Yeah. So they have a different view of it. So,
yeah.
I think they could still feature it on Raw and have it be part of, the second hour of NXT.
Oh, definitely. You could basically have them go and tape the 205 live stuff at Full Sail on a day, on a day that NXT isn't taping or whatnot, while at the same time, having them still tour with Raw. Right. I could totally see that.
And now they're doing house shows, so that in general.
Yeah, we'll see how that works.
Yeah.
I think that's about it for 205. Nothing too spectacular. I'd give it a 5.5 or a 6.
I'm right there with you, right in that range.
The 2 things that, 3 things that are most interesting moving forward are Itami coming in, Enzo, that whole thing with Enzo and Nia Jax, and then the whole Zo Train debacle.
Yeah, I don't get the whole Nia. Well, I think part. I think part of the Zo. Yeah, and I'm talking over you. I'm sorry. I think part of the Zo Train thing is that they now, with 2 or 3 people being out, they have to shuffle people around. And it's easier to shuffle people around and then bring in new people than just bring in new people, and go and stick them in the spots that other people were in. But the whole Nia thing, talk about coming out of left field. Yeah.
We kind of had this before with, this, I don't think the whole Nia Enzo thing will be quite as insufferable as this was. But it's not like they haven't done this before with Noam Dar and Alicia Fox.
Or I think I'm hoping that they're trying to go for more of a China and Eddie, type thing. But I don't know. And I guess they took her out of the women's picture over on Raw because of the new people. But who knows?
I mean, they're more focused on
so
Asuka
weird.
and I mean, we talked about it with 205, but it's the same thing goes with the women, where it seems like they only focus on 3 or 4, maybe 5 people at most, and everyone else is kind of left out in the dark.
Yeah, it's flavor of the month.
Yep. I think that just about does it for 205.
Yep.
Anything else you want to say about this episode before we go?
Nah, it was there.
Yeah, everything that we need to say has been said. So we'll talk to you guys next week. Until then, for Liz Pugliese, I'm Brandon Biskobing saying so long and good night.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.